at the moment that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
For over 2 decades, the story of Princess Diana's final hours has been told and retold, capturing the imaginations of millions around the world. From official crash investigations to endless tabloid reports, it seemed we knew every grim detail. Yet in the shadows, one man quietly shouldered the burden of truth. Her bodyguard during her last summer of freedom, a figure tasked with keeping Diana safe, until the exact moment he could not. A secret romance. Princess Diana's life story has always been a mix of fairy tale magic and grim reality. She captured hearts with her beauty and grace, but behind her public image lay private struggles, personal heartbreak, and endless media harassment. In 1997, she embarked on a bold new chapter when she got involved with film producer Dodi Fayed, a man whose glamour seemed to match her own desire for romance and excitement. Over decades, many have questioned what really happened in those final weeks. Now, a former bodyguard has stepped forward with new claims that throw fresh light on a relationship that ended in the most tragic way possible. People always talk about Princess Diana as if they understood what she was going through. The truth, says the bodyguard, is that Diana was at a crossroads in the summer of 1997. She had divorced Prince Charles the year before, and she was eager to redefine herself, no longer just the people's princess, but a private individual in search of love and freedom. It was a kind of rebirth, one that came with the hope of escaping life behind the palace gates. Her romance with Dodi Fayed was sudden, passionate, and shocking to anyone who'd watched her before. He was the son of billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed, the owner of Harrods and the Ritz Hotel in Paris. He was also a flashy character who enjoyed mingling with Hollywood stars and throwing grand parties on private yachts. The bodyguard suggests that Dodi offered Diana an escape from the controlled environment she had always known. She supposedly felt safe stepping onto his father's yacht in the south of France, away from the typical line of photographers that took positions outside Kensington Palace day after day. When images did leak of Diana and Dodi cuddling or kissing, the tabloids went wild. Yet, according to the bodyguard, Diana was in a strangely optimistic mood during that time. She was tired of the constant lens pointed at her face, but she was also convinced she could somehow handle it. Dodi was famously generous with lavish gifts, top-floor suites, and dreamy vacations. Diana had rarely experienced a relationship that allowed her to unwind without rigid royal protocols overshadowing every move. What people may not realize, though, is that Diana had just left behind another relationship. A deeper, more private love with heart surgeon Hasnat Khan. Friends of the princess still debate whether she was truly over Hasnat, or if Dodi was simply a more public, carefree shift of direction. The bodyguard hints that she might have been torn. However, from the outside, it seemed that she and Dodi were enjoying a magical summer traveling through the Riviera. The bodyguard himself had to arrange their security, or at the very least, keep an eye on the paparazzi that followed them everywhere they went. Even though the pair tried to stay discreet, pictures of them hugging on deck frequently appeared in magazines. The bodyguard claims Diana never confirmed that she and Dodi were engaged, even though rumor had it he was about to propose. Some believe that Mohammed Al Fayed had grand visions of tying the Al Fayed name to British royalty, while others argue that Diana was committed to forging her own path and was cautious about jumping into marriage again. According to the bodyguard, Diana wanted to keep people guessing about the seriousness of her relationship with Dodi. She was certainly fond of him, and they spent hours talking about what the future might hold. At the same time, the glare of publicity around them was so severe that it felt like they were living in a pressure cooker. That tension, in the bodyguard's words, became the backdrop for the night of August 30th, 1997. Diana and Dodi were looking for a quiet, romantic time in Paris. They wanted privacy, which the bodyguard says was already in short supply. People who saw them earlier in the day remembered that they seemed cheerful and affectionate. But beneath that calm surface, the paparazzi were already staking out various exits around the Ritz, eager to get more pictures and sell them to tabloids across Europe. Diana might have acted like the constant coverage didn't bother her, but the bodyguard insists she was exhausted. Exhausted from the cameras, from speculation about engagements, from a media that seemed determined to photograph her every breath. Red flags. The bodyguard claims were ignored. most major tragedies come with warning signs that people only recognize after the fact. According to the bodyguard, this was definitely the case. On the night Diana and Dodi died. Although so many stories have focused on the paparazzi's chase, the driver's intoxication, or even royal conspiracies, the bodyguard insists that several details could have changed everything if only someone had spoken up sooner. He points first to the overall security arrangements. Diana was arguably the most famous woman in the world, even after losing her official HRH title. She was used to traveling with skilled protection officers, who followed protocols hammered out by palace insiders. But once she stepped out of official royal circles and into a private billionaire's domain, some of those professional layers fell away. The bodyguard claims that by the time they got to Paris, security was ad hoc. Nobody seemed fully in charge of deciding which routes were safest, let alone checking whether the designated driver was in any condition to handle that responsibility. He also believes that trusting the Ritz to handle their exit might have been a fatal oversight. Dodi wanted so badly to outsmart the paparazzi that he proposed an elaborate decoy plan. 2 cars would exit from the front of the hotel, cameras flashing, while the real duo, Diana, Dodi, and bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones, would sneak out the back in a black Mercedes. It sounds clever in theory, but the bodyguard reveals that it was put together at the last minute. The paparazzi had practically sniffed it out immediately. Some staff members, the bodyguard adds, saw the paparazzi lingering in suspicious spots. If anyone realized that the decoy plan was compromised, they didn't pull the plug. Another red flag was the condition of the driver, Henri Paul. He worked as deputy head of security for the Ritz, but that didn't mean he was fit to handle a high-pressure chase on Paris roads. Subsequent toxicology reports indicated that he had been drinking. Some say people noticed he smelled of alcohol. Others claimed he seemed calm. The bodyguard is adamant that a formal check or a backup plan should have been triggered the moment there was doubt. Instead, Dodi and Diana, under pressure, in a rush, apparently chose to trust him because they were desperate for a quick escape. Then there were the paparazzi themselves, no longer just snapping photos from a distance, but actively maneuvering through traffic, swerving on motorbikes, and racing ahead to block the Mercedes. The bodyguard claims that the night was already tense, and ignoring how bad the chase had become was a recipe for disaster. Between the late hour, the urgency to evade cameras, and the possibility of an impaired driver, everything came together in one catastrophic moment. The bodyguard believes these red flags could have been addressed. Instead, no one stepped in to call off the late-night plan or ensure a more professional driver was found. In his eyes, that's the real tragedy. A series of small, preventable mistakes that ended up costing Diana and Dodi their lives. While official inquiries often highlight specific flaws, speeding, alcohol, paparazzi aggression, the bodyguard says he saw it as an overall breakdown. Everyone was a little too confident that they could handle the situation, from evading paparazzi to controlling the route through Paris. Nobody wanted to slow down and rethink the plan. The Mercedes in the underpass. The collision in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel has become one of the most infamous traffic accidents in modern history. The bodyguard wasn't inside that Mercedes himself, but from the evidence and testimony he's gathered, including what one survivor recounts, he has painted a harrowing picture. He describes how Henri Paul raced away from the Ritz, with Trevor Rees-Jones in the front passenger seat and Diana and Dodi in the back. Chased by a swarm of paparazzi on motorcycles, they sped through city streets in hopes of buying some privacy, even if it was just for the few minutes it took to get to Dodi's apartment. The underpass was dimly lit, and often a spot where local drivers didn't expect to be going at high speed. Witnesses posted near the entrance to the tunnel said the Mercedes seemed to be traveling faster than normal. People recall the squeal of tires, the rush of engine noise, and then an awful crunch as the car collided with the concrete pillar. According to official inquests, Dodi and Henri Paul died on impact. Trevor Rees-Jones, who wore a seatbelt, was severely injured in the crash, sustaining massive facial damage that required extensive reconstructive surgery. Diana was found alive but in dire condition. Immediately after the crash, paparazzi continued to arrive. While some tried to help, others were busy snapping photos. It was one of those moments that would later be used as evidence of how twisted paparazzi culture had become. Instead of calling emergency responders, they were eager to get the perfect shot. The bodyguard suggests that the frenzy around the car might have even worsened the chaos, preventing calm, orderly rescue efforts. The bodyguard says that what still haunts him is the sound of conflicting information in the aftermath. Some bodyguards claimed to have heard crying from inside the car, while others were unsure if Diana was still conscious. A few minutes felt like hours. By the time paramedics and firefighters arrived, they had a giant obstacle course of onlookers and cameras to get through. The bodyguard points to the first responder's story, often identified as a firefighter named Galen, or Gourmelon, who found Diana still breathing inside the wreck. That, to him, underscores how close they were to saving her. She was far from unresponsive at the scene. She still had a fighting chance. But the interior of the Mercedes was crushed. The front end was unrecognizable, seats pushed forward, glass shattered across the floor. The bodyguard notes that at first glance, many people at the scene didn't realize it was Princess Diana at all. Some recognized Dodi, or they pieced it together when they saw the paparazzi going wild. For the bodyguard, it's one of the darkest ironies. She wanted to avoid the press that evening, and yet here she was, surrounded by camera flashes and strangers in her most vulnerable state. Her last words and final moments over the years. Countless rumors have circulated about Diana's last words. Some say she spoke of her sons, William and Harry. Others claim she said nothing. Then, a firefighter's testimony emerged 2 decades later, saying Diana mumbled something like, "My God, what's happened?" Or, "Oh my God, leave me alone." The bodyguard, who has now stepped forward, supports the idea that she was indeed conscious, if only for a short time, and was confused by the chaos around her. He explains that first responders rushed to give Diana oxygen and stabilize her neck. At that moment, the adrenaline must have kicked in. The bodyguard says that the image of her awake, even if somewhat disoriented, is both heartbreaking and comforting. It's comforting because she was not instantly gone. Heartbreaking because it highlights that help arrived, but still couldn't save her. He also indicates that Diana actually had a faint pulse while being transferred to the ambulance. That small sign of life gave paramedics hope that they could pull her through once they got to the hospital. He mentions how the fireman, or Galen, was stunned when he learned the victim he tried to save was Princess Diana. He had no clue who she was in the immediate moment. He was just doing his job, attempting to save a blonde crash victim with minimal visible injuries. The bodyguard insists this detail underlines why so many claims about a conspiracy to have her killed don't ring true. Nothing about the crash scene looked staged. It was chaos and confusion, and no one had a clue they were dealing with royalty. Just people in dire need of help. In the ambulance, Diana slipped in and out of consciousness. She reportedly went into cardiac arrest, prompting frantic attempts at CPR. The bodyguard has heard from those who were there that for a few short seconds, it seemed like the medical team got her heart beating again. That glimmer of hope didn't last. The internal injuries that no one could immediately see would prove fatal. She passed away at the hospital hours later, while surgeons tried to fix the rupture near her heart. To this day, people argue about whether things could have been different if Diana had been rushed to the hospital faster, or if the ambulance had used a different route. The bodyguard is honest in his stance. We'll never know. He's heard the paramedics argue that the French approach to emergency care is different from the British style, that on-scene stabilization took priority over immediate transport. Regardless, it's clear Diana was far more severely hurt than her outward appearance suggested. In the end, her final words were likely the bewildered murmur of someone who realized something horrible had happened, but wasn't totally aware of how life-threatening it was. The paparazzi dilemma. The final puzzle piece is the paparazzi. For a while, the entire world blamed them, and many still do. Some say that if it weren't for the relentless chase, the driver wouldn't have sped, and Diana wouldn't have died in that tunnel. Others argue that while the paparazzi's behavior was bad, the bigger problem was the presence of an intoxicated driver behind the wheel. The bodyguard offers a more nuanced view. In his mind, the paparazzi were definitely contributing to the tension and panic, but the entire security apparatus around Diana had collapsed under the weight of her newfound independence. He insists that the paparazzi's aggression was no new phenomenon. Diana had faced them from the moment reporters learned of her relationship with Prince Charles all those years ago. She was used to stepping off a curb while a cluster of cameras blocked her path. She had even cooperated with some journalists in the past, trying to harness the media's power to promote her charitable causes. But her romance with Dodi brought a new level of frenzy. Tabloids couldn't get enough of the millionaire's playboy son and the world's most famous ex-royal. Everyone wanted that exclusive shot, maybe a kiss, a whisper, a moment of tension. The financial rewards for such photos were enormous, spurring the paparazzi to drive recklessly through Paris in pursuit. Yet the bodyguard says it's too simplistic to say the paparazzi alone caused the crash. He points out that Dodi was also determined to slip away undetected, rushing out into the night against any better judgment. The security detail was so scattered that they ended up relying on a deputy head of Ritz security with an unconfirmed blood alcohol level. The bodyguard calls it a perfect storm. Sure, the paparazzi's pushy presence was the flashpoint, but every step up to that point was flawed. He believes that if any single safeguard had been in place, say, if a professional chauffeur with a sober background had been driving, Diana might have arrived safely at Dodi's apartment. The paparazzi were intrusive and callous, but they weren't the sole reason the car crashed at high speed. He also remembers hearing about how some paparazzi, after the accident, rushed forward with cameras instead of offering help. That, he says, is a moment that reveals how twisted the tabloid culture was. Emergency personnel had to push them back. Meanwhile, the bodyguard was fielding frantic calls from staff wanting updates on Diana's condition. Some paparazzi claimed they were just doing their jobs, while others insisted they had tried to help once they realized how severe the crash was. Regardless, the damage was done. In the months and years after Diana's death, there was a global outcry over paparazzi tactics. People demanded new laws, new protections. Yet, the bodyguard feels that the world has a short memory. Over time, sensational pictures still fetch high prices, and paparazzi culture hasn't disappeared. In his view, Diana's death could have led to a real overhaul, ensuring celebrities or public figures were better shielded from reckless pursuit. Instead, the conversation fizzled out, overshadowed by conspiracy theories, official investigations, and changing headlines. He calls the entire night a giant security failure, because so many systems that should have protected Diana left her exposed. She was no longer a royal highness with tight palace protocols, and she hadn't yet established her own bulletproof network of experienced security. Dodi's wealth and connections, ironically, did not translate into the safest possible environment. The paparazzi just turned up the pressure, turning a risky strategy into a lethal one. Confrontations with the royal establishment and legal hurdles. When the shocking car crash in Paris claimed Princess Diana's life, millions worldwide turned to the royal family for comfort and answers. Many people felt the monarchy should have offered a warmer, more transparent response to the tragedy. Suddenly, a quiet tension seeped out into the open. Private frustrations boiled over, and individuals searched for someone to blame. In the middle of this storm stood the princess's on and off security circle, a small group of men charged with keeping her safe, yet powerless on that fateful night. Eventually, one of these men chose to speak out. For years, the bodyguard had been more than just a silent figure in Diana's orbit. He knew the lines of succession, the restrictions of palace protocol, and the consequences of stepping out of place. But in the aftermath of the accident, the royal establishment tried to close ranks. That's when he realized there might be more at stake than simply defending the public image of the monarchy. Documents needed signing, hush-hush agreements were laid on the table, and he braced for confrontation. Some key palace aides wanted a smooth, simple narrative. Yes, it was all a terrible accident. Blame the driver. Condolences to the family. Let us move on. But the bodyguard felt something else brewing. Countless awkward questions nobody wanted to address. Had the princess been left with subpar protection once her divorce was finalized? Why did everything feel so uncoordinated that night in Paris? Why were certain eyewitness accounts brushed aside? The tension with the monarchy did not take the form of a flashy showdown in the corridors of Buckingham Palace, but rather subtle forms of pressure. Insiders murmured about whether the bodyguard should sign non-disclosure papers. Close associates hinted that legal trouble might arise if he ever contradicted official statements. To him, it was all too obvious that some corners of the royal establishment saw him as a loose end, someone who had no official place in the firm once Diana was gone. Others within the palace were more empathetic. They quietly admitted there was a deep sadness in how Diana's final hours played out, and they feared the scandal could spin out of control if too many conflicting stories emerged. The bodyguards saw it from both angles. The monarchy had lost one of its brightest stars, and the entire institution was staggering under public grief and growing media hostility. He also became wrapped up in the complicated swirl of legal proceedings. French authorities launched an investigation into the crash. British officials monitored from across the channel, keen to see how the blame game would unfold. Paparazzi who had chased Diana's car were briefly detained, then released. Some tabloids even tested the waters of sensational conspiracy theories, claiming that Diana had been targeted by shady forces. The bodyguard recalls feeling torn between his loyalty to the memory of the princess and the rules that came with any brush against royal life. Stepping forward could place him on a collision course with powerful individuals who had no interest in seeing the official reports questioned. He wasn't alone. Other staff members, including the late Diana's aides and butlers, also faced tough choices about talking to the media or cooperating with various legal teams. A few who had once been close to the princess gave interviews that stoked further allegations of a cover-up or hints of neglected safety protocols. The bodyguard, though, wanted to keep his head above water, mindful of not just the monarchy's lawyers, but also Dodi Fayed's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, a man determined to prove a larger plot was at work. The tug of war between different factions left him exhausted. Why he's breaking his silence now? After the crash, the bodyguard didn't immediately rush to the press. He was haunted by guilt and plagued by nightmares about that chaotic night in the Pont de l'Alma underpass. He knew his story could easily be twisted or overshadowed by the frenzy of tabloid headlines clamoring for shocking details. For years, he remained in the background, trying to find normalcy in a world that could not stop talking about Princess Diana's death. When he looked in the mirror, he saw the face of someone who felt he had let down the one person he was supposed to protect. No matter how many times people pointed out that he wasn't the driver, and that Diana had made her own choices that night, he still shouldered the regret. He also carried around his memories of Diana. How she sipped tea with staff in the early evening, how she quietly supported her sons, and how she faced cameras with an almost unearthly calm. But he was aware of her private pain as well. Opinions about Diana had become polarized. Some cast her as a saintly figure. Others claimed she was manipulative. He knew her best as a kind, flawed individual under too much pressure. He found it increasingly painful to watch her legacy boil down to conspiracy theories, paparazzi standoffs, and old footage of that final summer with Dodi Fayed. Every few years, major anniversaries of Diana's passing triggered a wave of press coverage. The bodyguard would get calls from old colleagues or journalists, each seeking exclusive anecdotes. He consistently refused, telling himself it was better to let the official narrative stand. But time can change perspective. As he saw documentaries and articles sensationalize the same old angles, he began to suspect that people might benefit from a fresh viewpoint. Someone who had lived in her shadow. Someone who had no interest in fanning conspiracy flames, but also no desire to whitewash the chaos of that final night. Why speak out now? He says it was a slow process, not a single event. He began talking confidentially to a therapist, struggling with the trauma of seeing the princess lying in the wrecked car, her eyes sometimes fluttering as first responders tried to keep her alive. He confesses to nights spent awake, replaying the same images. Headlights cutting through smoky air, paparazzi yelling. The terrifying moment he realized it was Diana in mortal peril. As the nightmares persisted, he felt a need for catharsis, not just for himself, but for the public that still aches when they remember those headlines. So he decided enough was enough. He was done hiding behind the hush-hush environment that typically surrounds royal staff.
I commit myself to serve you all, King, country, and Commonwealth.
Prince William, one of the most respected figures in the British royal family, suddenly at the center of a controversy that could end his royal journey. Whispers around the palace corridors speak of family tension, secrets, and unexpected revelations. And shockingly, these rumors aren't just about William or Kate. They're about her sister, Pippa Middleton. Sources suggest that Pippa has come forward with information so astonishing, it's causing ripples throughout the entire royal household. What could have been uncovered that would place Prince William on the edge of exile from his royal duties? Could this revelation really have the power to shake the monarchy to its core? Let's uncover the details behind this bombshell that's throwing the future of the British throne into question. Prince William has captivated the world's attention as a royal with a unique blend of tradition and modernity. As the Prince of Wales, he stands not only as the heir apparent to the British throne, but also as a symbol of continuity for a monarchy facing unprecedented scrutiny and change. From his childhood, spent in the intense spotlight, to his role as a husband and father, William's journey has been one of adaptation, resilience, and a balancing act between duty and personal life. This story, however, is far from straightforward, as countless rumors and public debates circle around his life, his role in the family, and what his future might hold for the British monarchy. William's position as the eldest son of King Charles III and the late Princess Diana meant he was always destined for a life in the public eye. The world witnessed his early years alongside his mother, who famously reshaped the image of the royal family with her compassion and candor. Diana's tragic death left an indelible mark on William, shaping him into a figure known for his composure, thoughtfulness, and dedication to causes that mattered to her. It was through her legacy that William first connected with the public, an attachment that only grew stronger over the years. As he matured, his public engagements began to focus on issues close to his heart, such as mental health, wildlife conservation, and support for the armed forces. These priorities reflect a new kind of royal, one committed to addressing contemporary issues rather than merely upholding ceremonial traditions. With King Charles now on the throne, the focus on William has intensified as the public anticipates the next chapter for the monarchy. There is a prevailing expectation that William will usher in a new era when he becomes king, potentially modernizing the institution in ways his father and predecessors never fully embraced. His close connection to his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, deeply influenced his sense of duty and approach to royal responsibilities. Many see William as someone who combines his grandmother's commitment to service with his mother's sense of compassion, making him uniquely suited to lead a monarchy in transition. However, this unique position also brings intense scrutiny and speculation. Every gesture, decision, and public appearance is analyzed, contributing to the myriad rumors that surround him. The relationship between William and his younger brother, Prince Harry, has been one of the most discussed and debated aspects of his personal life. Once famously close, the brothers have, by all accounts, experienced a significant rift, particularly following Harry's decision to step back from royal duties and move to the United States with his wife, Meghan Markle. Their split has fueled countless stories and public fascination, with fans and the media dissecting every move to interpret where the brothers stand. While William has largely remained silent on the matter, his silence itself has led to speculation, with some seeing it as a sign of restraint and focus on his own responsibilities. Despite the strain, those close to William suggest that he remains deeply committed to his duties and the institution, often taking a measured approach that prioritizes the stability and future of the monarchy over personal grievances. William's marriage to Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, has further solidified his image as a stable and relatable figure. Together, they present a modern royal family that resonates with the British public. Kate's warmth and elegance have endeared her to many, and her ability to handle the intense media spotlight with poise complements William's more reserved demeanor. Over the years, their relationship has become a focal point for the monarchy, with many seeing them as a steadying influence during a time of immense change. Their public appearances, as well as their dedication to causes such as early childhood education, mental health, and the environment, have helped shape the narrative of a monarchy that is more connected to the people and the issues of today. As parents, William and Kate have made it a priority to give their children as normal a life as possible, a stark contrast to William's own highly publicized childhood. This approach reflects their desire to create a grounded environment for their children, preparing them for a future that will undoubtedly bring its own set of challenges and responsibilities. Rumors surrounding William's future as king often delve into whether he will continue the traditional model of monarchy or embrace more progressive reforms. Some royal experts believe William is prepared to modernize the institution, focusing on service over pageantry and reducing the overall footprint of the monarchy. His recent decisions and public statements have suggested a commitment to this streamlined approach. He has shown an interest in making the royal family more accessible, engaging in initiatives that address pressing social issues while fostering a deeper connection with the public. This modern approach may reflect the changing attitudes within British society, where support for the monarchy remains strong but is increasingly contingent on the institution's ability to remain relevant. William is acutely aware of this sentiment, and his actions seem to align with a vision of a monarchy that is more connected to the lives of everyday people. Public perception of William has largely been positive, especially in comparison to other members of the royal family who have faced criticism and controversy. He is viewed as a steady and reliable figure, qualities that are particularly valued as the monarchy faces complex questions about its role and relevance. Polls consistently show that he and Kate are among the most popular royals, a testament to their ability to navigate their roles with respect for tradition while still embracing change. William's calm and composed nature, combined with his dedication to his duties, has helped solidify his image as the future of the British monarchy. However, there is also a recognition that the monarchy must adapt to survive, and many believe William will be the one to lead that adaptation. The influence of William's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, is evident in his approach to public service. Her unwavering commitment to duty, even in the face of personal and public challenges, left a lasting impression on him. William has often spoken about the lessons he learned from her, and how her example shaped his understanding of his role. As he prepares for his future as king, these lessons will likely guide his decisions, particularly as he faces the pressures of maintaining the monarchy in an era marked by rapid change and shifting public attitudes. William's deep respect for the Queen's legacy suggests that he will honor her approach while also incorporating his own values and perspectives, creating a monarchy that respects tradition but is not afraid to evolve. The rumors surrounding William's plans for the monarchy hint at a reign that may be less ceremonial and more focused on tangible contributions to society. His interest in mental health, environmental protection, and social issues underscores his desire to use his platform for meaningful impact. This emphasis on service over ceremony resonates with a public increasingly skeptical of the monarchy's more opulent aspects. William's future reign could bring about a more accessible monarchy, one that reflects the values and concerns of the British people in a way that is both respectful of tradition and responsive to change. Such a direction would be in line with his own values, as well as those of a younger generation that demands transparency, authenticity, and relevance from its institutions. As William looks toward the future, the weight of expectation is immense, but so is his commitment to the role he was born to play. His life has been one of preparation, shaped by moments of intense joy, public scrutiny, and personal hardship. Through it all, he has demonstrated a resilience that will be essential for a reign that is likely to face unique challenges. His popularity, dedication to service, and understanding of the monarchy's role in modern society suggest that he is well equipped to lead. While rumors and speculation will undoubtedly continue, it is William's actions and decisions that will ultimately define his legacy. His journey is not only a reflection of his own character, but a testament to the enduring adaptability of the British monarchy, an institution that has withstood centuries of change by evolving with the times. In the end, Prince William's story is more than just one of royal duty. It is a narrative of growth, resilience, and a deep commitment to service. His future as king holds the promise of a monarchy that can honor its past while forging a path forward. William's legacy will likely be one that resonates not only within the walls of Buckingham Palace, but across a nation that, despite its challenges, still finds meaning in the continuity and tradition that he represents. As he navigates the complexities of his role, William's journey offers a vision of a monarchy that, while rooted in tradition, is unafraid to embrace change. In an ever-evolving world, this balance of old and new may be the key to the monarchy's enduring relevance, with William at its helm. As he navigates the complexities of his role, William's journey offers a vision of a monarchy that, while rooted in tradition, is unafraid to embrace change. In an ever-evolving world, this balance of old and new may be the key to the monarchy's enduring relevance, with William at its helm. Princess Charlotte's world has been turned upside down. Prince William, known for his calm and measured approach, has taken a step no one could have predicted, shaking the very foundation of the monarchy. It's a move that leaves Charlotte, poised, confident, and always composed, struggling with a reality that is rapidly evolving. The decision comes at a time when the royal family finds itself navigating the growing tension between tradition and modernization. However, William's bold actions have thrust Charlotte into the spotlight, and her unexpected reaction is at the center of a storm that could reshape the monarchy's future. For years, Prince William has played the part of the steady heir, following the footsteps of King Charles, while quietly preparing for his eventual reign. Yet now, William's power play appears to mark the beginning of a new era, one in which the younger generation of royals consolidates control over the institution. Aligning himself closely with Princess Catherine, William is signaling to the world that they are ready to take the reins. His move to assume greater responsibility may be strategic, but it comes with consequences. Consequences that ripple throughout the royal family, leaving a lasting impact on everyone, including his daughter, Princess Charlotte. The monarchy, once a symbol of stability, is now facing a period of profound change. William's decision to modernize royal duties and tighten control has been seen by many as necessary in a rapidly changing world. Yet, critics have called it a power grab that risks sidelining key members of the family, including Queen Camilla, who once worked tirelessly to secure her position within the royal hierarchy. As King Charles leans on his son to lead, Camilla's influence continues to wane. This has only deepened the cracks forming behind palace walls, a silent battle playing out between generations. Princess Charlotte's silent struggle emerges as a result of this seismic shift. At just a young age, Charlotte has already begun to feel the weight of her father's ambitions. William's decisions place her in a precarious position where her role, once defined by tradition, is now unclear. Charlotte has grown up in the shadow of her parents' rising prominence, groomed to play her part within the monarchy's rigid expectations. Yet, as William steps into a more central leadership role, Charlotte is left grappling with what this means for her future. Is she expected to follow in his footsteps, or will she find herself increasingly overshadowed by the power dynamics at play? As tensions rise, Princess Charlotte has become a symbol of this generational shift. Her public appearances have always been characterized by her poise and composure. But behind the polished image lies a young royal navigating the pressure of her circumstances. Will she embrace her role as part of William's vision for a modern monarchy, or will she resist, seeking to carve out her own path? The question is one that no one can answer yet, but it's clear that Charlotte's reaction carries significant weight. Her silent struggle mirrors the very challenges facing the royal family: how to balance tradition with the demands of an evolving world. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla's struggle highlights another layer of this unfolding story. After decades of public scrutiny, Camilla's promotion to Queen Consort was meant to be the crowning moment of her journey. Yet as Prince William consolidates his power, Camilla finds herself increasingly sidelined. For someone who worked tirelessly to secure her place in the monarchy, her exclusion is both frustrating and symbolic. The younger generation, William and Catherine, have taken center stage, leaving Camilla questioning her legacy. While her title remains intact, her influence is fading, and many are left wondering if this marks the beginning of the end of her role as a key player in the monarchy. Behind closed doors, insiders suggest that King Charles and Camilla are facing growing strain in their relationship. As Charles leans on William and Catherine to lead, Camilla's frustrations have only deepened. While the public remains largely unaware of this silent battle, the cracks are becoming harder to ignore. Charles may have intended to secure the monarchy's future by elevating William, but in doing so, he has inadvertently left Camilla on the periphery. Will she fight to reclaim her place, or will she accept her diminishing role within the palace? The future of the monarchy hangs in the balance, and every decision made now will have lasting consequences. Princess Charlotte, a key to the monarchy's future. Princess Charlotte's story is more than just a footnote in the royal family's journey. It's a reflection of the delicate balance between old traditions and the new world William is working to create. At such a young age, Charlotte is already grappling with the pressures of being part of one of the world's most watched families. The royal household has spent years carefully crafting her public image, presenting her as poised, mature, and ready for the responsibilities she will inevitably face. Yet William's bold decisions have made her role far more complex, and Charlotte now faces a crossroads that could define her place in the monarchy for decades to come. As William and Catherine rise in prominence, Princess Charlotte is left to wonder what this means for her future. Once seen as part of the supporting cast to her older brother, Prince George, Charlotte is now being viewed in a new light. Her father's modern vision for the monarchy means that the expectations placed upon her are evolving. No longer just a child in the background, Charlotte is increasingly positioned as a key figure in the monarchy's future. But the question remains, how will she respond to the shifting tides of power within her family? The monarchy has always been defined by its ability to adapt to the times, but this transition has been anything but smooth. The silent tension between the older and younger generations of royals is impossible to ignore, and Princess Charlotte's reaction to her father's decisions has captured the public's attention. While Charlotte has often been praised for her grace and maturity beyond her years, this moment is testing her in ways that no young royal should have to endure. As William continues to reshape the monarchy's role in the modern world, Charlotte must find her footing amidst the chaos. Her journey is not just personal, it is symbolic of the greater challenges facing the royal family. Can Charlotte embrace the responsibilities that come with her position? Or will she push back against the weight of her family's expectations? Will she step forward and become an integral part of William's vision? Or will she quietly resist the changes that threaten to redefine her role? The choices she makes in these formative years could have far-reaching consequences, not only for herself, but for the monarchy as a whole. The royal family's journey has always been one of evolution, but the stakes have never been higher. With Prince William's decisions shaking the very foundation of the monarchy, the spotlight now falls on Charlotte. Her silent struggle represents more than just a personal challenge. It's a reflection of the monarchy's future. The decisions made today will shape the family's legacy for generations, and Charlotte is at the center of it all. Will she embrace her role as a modern royal, or will the pressures of palace life prove to be too much? As the dust settles on William's bold power play, the royal family stands on the brink of a new era. The rise of William and Catherine has shifted the balance of power, and the once unshakable traditions of the monarchy are being tested like never before. Princess Charlotte's journey through this transition will be pivotal, as she navigates the challenges of a rapidly evolving institution. The choices she makes now will determine not only her legacy, but also the future of the monarchy itself. The world is watching closely as this story unfolds. The pressure on William to lead the royal family into a new era is immense, but the challenges facing Princess Charlotte are equally significant. As her father consolidates power and reshapes the institution, Charlotte must find her place in this new world. Will she rise to the occasion and embrace her role, or will she resist the forces pulling her in multiple directions? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Princess Charlotte's journey is far from over, and the future of the monarchy hangs in the balance. The royal household has spent years carefully crafting her public image, presenting her as poised, mature, and ready for the responsibilities she will inevitably face. Yet William's bold decisions have made her role far more complex, and Charlotte now faces a crossroads that could define her place in the monarchy for decades to come. As William and Catherine rise in prominence, Princess Charlotte is left to wonder what this means for her future. Once seen as part of the supporting cast to her older brother, Prince George, Charlotte is now being viewed in a new light.